Hey guys, today I want to talk about one of my early Medfords. This is the production Praetorian, they called it when they first came out with this style. It's now called the Scout, or the Scout MP, I believe it is. So this would be more like the Scout because there's no breaker. But let's dive right into the specs. Same size as the Praetorian. Okay, so I've got the Praetorian T over here. Actually, I should have grabbed my Praetorian G because it's a little more akin to that. But, yeah, well, I didn't grab the G. So I brought out a Praetorian T as well as a full tie to compare a little bit later. So we'll just leave these off to the side. So this is 4 7/8, so it's a little bit shorter than this one because this one has the breaker, right? 4 7/8 closed. Overall is 8 5/8 plus, just a hair over. Blade length is 3.73 as measured from the edge of the scale to the tip of the blade, which gives you a cutting edge on this one a little longer than the blade length, just because the way I measure, right or wrong, hey, that's how I do it. So the edge length is 3.79 inches. This one is in D2, which I think is all they made them in at the very beginning. This was their very first run. As soon as they announced it, I basically ordered one. As soon as they were available. This was in the first, very first production run. The blade thickness is 0.18. Weighs in at 7.6 ounces with an overall thickness of 0.62. So to give a weight comparison, this is at 7.6. The Praetorian T is at 9 ounces, and the full tie comes in at a whopping 11.7 ounces. Granted, it's a much bigger knife, but we'll compare. So this is G10 scales on both sides with a full liner on the lock side. So it's a liner lock. So it has the liner inside, and it's a titanium liner, titanium standoffs, titanium clip, bent, just a bent, kind of inexpensive style clip, if you will. I really like the fact that it's light, but I have a few, concerns, but some negatives. So one negative is my thumb is just too fat to really get in here and unlock it one-handed. I mean, I guess I could do it because I just did, but it really, it's not that easy to get it unlocked. So it's much better for me and my size hands to unlock it with my finger this way. It came super sharp, which is always nice. Again, this is one of their very first runs. So you can see some of the grind marks here where they transition from the flat to this, from the hollow grind to the flat grind. I believe these ones, don't quote me on this, were done machine ground for the most part. So you do see some of that machine work in there. But overall, they did a really nice job with it all over. When they first came out with them, they only offered them in the orange, I believe, which I kind of love my orange knives. I have a thing about orange. Today, I figured I would do this video today because I wore my orange samurai, which I've done a video on, and I carried my orange Praetorian while I was wearing my orange samurai. So I figured tonight was a good time to do this video. And yes, I usually film at night and then post in the morning. It works out better in my studio because I have a big window here next to me. So at night, it just works better. Whatever. So let's compare with the T, which has the same blade thickness, right? It's much thicker. The production Praetorian Scout is much thicker than the T. by quite a bit. I mean, let's just tell you right now. So the overall thickness on this is 0.48, and on this is 0.62 that I already mentioned, right? 6162. So it's very much the same overall thickness as the full tie. If you hold them up side by side, they are virtually the same, and we'll measure here in just a second, but just to give you a shot. But again, same overall construction, same standoff locations for the most part. Same, same geometry, same jimping across the top, all very familiar. So if you were to grab a Scout today, it would be very familiar with what you have already. Or if you have a Scout and you go for a titanium version, whether it's the full tie or just the T, it's very familiar. So the overall thickness on this particular tie is 0.66. So it's just a hair thicker than the production version. It's much heavier. The clip is obviously different. We get it, right? But all in all, the Scout line is a good entry into the Medford lineup, if you will. A lot of people prefer the lighter weight and the G10, feel, because I've heard somebody was just talking about this the other day on Facebook about you're more likely to use your G10 version Medfords because you're not going to be as concerned about scratching them up or damaging them. I'm open to that opinion. I carry most all of my knives. Yes, this one is a crazy sculpted, contoured purple Praetorian T that I got from my very good friend Remington. So does this one get carried, and does it get carried? Absolutely. Does it get used much? No, not really. Again, I'm an office type setting guy. When I am outdoors doing hiking, doing camping, doing those types of outdoor things, when I'm in Moab off-roading, I'm not carrying something fancy like this. I'm carrying my Praetorian, my TIG a lot of times I take to Moab with me, and I take a field grade bodega. Those are what I carry when I go out into the woods, so to speak. So anyway, let's do a couple size comparisons here. You kind of get that it's just a Praetorian. It just happens to be G10 all the way across, which is great. It's a viable option. Really can't say too much bad about it. The only real negative for me is in the locking and in the unlocking of the Praetorian Scout. Okay. Just because my fingers don't quite fit in there to release it with my thumb. Here it is against the Todd Banks Steelcraft Field Marshal. And because it's here, the Chris Reeve Large Sapenza 21, because I like to pull that out because it sits here on my table. So anyway, I wanted to share the Scout production, Praetorian, whatever you want to call them. They're called the Scout now. These are available. You can see in the fuller, just that this is rough texture. It's not smooth down there in the bottom. It looks kind of rough, and it is. So again, this was their first run. So they've perfected their art since then. So don't be too worried about something you may or may not see on this one. But the Scouts are still available now. You can go check out my good buddy Jake, the Medford guy. He can hook you up. You can order directly from the website. And there is a big following on Facebook for the secondary market. There's a lot of Medford models out there for sale on the secondary market as well, where you can get some screaming deals if you want to go that route. So anyway, if you've got any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I will have a link to my Medford playlist where you can see other reviews of Medford knives and check out the rest of my videos. I got a whole bunch of stuff out there already and a lot more to come. So thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you on the next one.